वीडियो की फोटो वीडियो फिर रहा हूँ
Great Chicago fire. This fire burned about 66% of our city at the time to the ground. 17,000 buildings were completely destroyed. 100,000 people lost their homes. More than 250 people lost their lives. It was a tragedy. But it did provide Chicago a blank, primarily a refinement process. It's designed to refine steel as a product to make it widely available and much easier to use. It was essentially the mass production of steel. The third invention surrounds you today, the invention of the modern-day steel-based skyscraper born here in Chicago in 1884, designed by William LeBaron Jenney. Let's see where that legacy has left. We're going to begin off on your right-hand side, towering over the river here and labeled for your convenience. We have Trump International Hotel and Tower. It is the title holder for the second tallest tower in the city of Chicago, clocking in at 1,388 feet. It's about 423 meters. This 92-story building opened up in 2009, designed by Skidmore, Owings & Merrill's principal architect, Adrian Smith, famed designer for the tallest tower in the world, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, which is roughly twice the height of Trump International. The building's curved facade and the three setbacks assisted with wind shearing. It is now able to withstand the over 90-mile-an-hour winds coming off of Lake Michigan at these heights. The building's mixed use with retail space, a parking garage, restaurant on the 16th floor, luxury hotel accommodations, and of course a couple hundred luxury condominiums. The largest is their 14,000 square foot penthouse that was recently listed on the market for $30 million. $30 million. Some of you were looking at me like you just put a pin on it. Next to your right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, this plain-looking black structure is the former IBM building, today largely being occupied by the American Medical Association. They call it AML Plaza. The building opened up in 1971 by Ludwig von Vanderbilt, a German architect who brought with him from Germany the international style, which is famous for simplicity, reflecting his lessons for philosophy. A philosophy he taught at the Illinois Institute of Technology. Philosophy that not only students agree with. One that disagreed built next door. His name was Bertrand Goldberg. He believed that if there are no right angles in nature, there's going to be no right angles in his architecture. This is Marina City, the corncob of the Midwest, that is. Famous for the two 60-story cylindrical towers. Together, they have 896 pizza-shaped apartments, referring to them starting out narrow and then widening as you walk into them. Marina City opened up in the mid-60s at a time when most people did not live downtown. The concept of the design was city in a city, designed to accommodate for things that you did not have readily accessible to you at the time. You opened up with your apartment, parking garage, boat marina, restaurant, grocery store, bowling alley, 10-story office building, health club, radio station, bank, ice skating rink, and even a theater. Your entire life could almost fully take place in that one city block. Up next on your right-hand side, you guys can see the outdoor seating areas for Portofino's Pizzeria. That's good Italian. Above that, RPM Seafood. That's out of my price range. And then above that is the American Bar Association building, home, of course, to the American Bar Association, consisting of a bunch of lawyers and bartenders.
कस्तो फिल भइरहेछ
Learn that last year from the race episode.
गाइस कस्तो भयो
Up next on your right-hand side, the Reed Murdoch Center, 1914 by George Linden. Original red brick masonry and terracotta ornamentation. You will count 6 bays of windows to the right-hand side of that clock tower, but only 5 off here to the left. The building was first designed and built symmetrically with 6 and 6. The left-hand side had one of its bays completely removed. The building was then squished back together to make room for the widening of the South Street Bridge, which we are heading underneath right now. Up next on your right-hand side, tall glass tower here is 300 north of south, caught in Chilton, 2009. The glass tower stands 784 feet tall and is LEED certified platinum. Now, LEED stands for Leadership in Environmental and Energy Design. It is a point system we use to measure the green standard of buildings, with platinum here being the highest certification awarded. The glass tower is entirely built from recycled materials, has a green roof to help mitigate rainwater, and the tower cools itself off using river water itself. A process that ends with them returning the water back to the Chicago River cleaner than when it first went in. Up next on your right-hand side, regardless of correcting your first assumption, this building is big. This is the merchandise market. 1931, Graham and Post and White, great example of Art Deco. The four elements of Art Deco present include the Indiana limestone facade, very strong vertical orientation, setbacks near the top, and geometric shapes throughout. When the building opened up in 1931 at 4.1 million square feet, it was the largest concrete structure in the world. The Hoover Dam has less concrete in it than this building. This was first used as a way to consolidate 14 warehouses for Marshall Field's department stores. It had to be big. At 500 showrooms, 8 miles of corridors, sits on a 5-acre plot, and up into the late 90s, the merchandise market had its own zip code. It was bought by the Kennedy family in 1945 for $16 million in back taxes. The Kennedys then resold the merchandise mart in 1998 for $575 million. Yeah, I call that a good investment. Yeah, I have 2 good investments on my way right now. Thank you for that. It's a joke, guys. I have a theater degree. I don't have money. And that's the right-hand side. During the buying and the selling of the merchandise mart, the family held down to Wolf Point off on your right. Today fully developed with 3 towers. The right-hand side, we have Wolf Point East, a 600-foot tall residential tower. On the far left-hand side, coming into view, the green glass building with all these balconies. That is a 500-foot tall, also residential tower. That's Wolf Point West. And then right here in the center, the 850-foot tall commercial structure known as Salesforce Tower, as the primary occupant is, of course, Salesforce. Now, Wolf Point is also known as a place where Chicago got her start. Back in the 1830s, when Chicago's population began growing very quickly, the incoming population was moving right here to Wolf. Is that a puppy? Freaking precious. Guys, wave to the dog. Wave to the dog. I hope he's happy. I digress, though. Wolf Point is also known as a place where Chicago got her start. Back in the 1830s, Chicago's population began growing very quickly. That incoming population was moving right here to Wolf Point, where we had our first bridge across the river, ferries across the river, homes, businesses, churches, and of course, our first bars were right here as well. It's believed that in one of those bars, after a couple of shots, we raised a tankard of beer, called our city Chicago, a word we got from the indigenous words of the area, Chicago. Come later to learn, they were not talking about the land. Chicago was a reference to the fragrant, smelly onions which grew wild along the banks of our river. 2020 hindsight should not have held that meeting in a bar. But as it stands today, folks, welcome to Chicago, the big city that smells like a bunch of onions. We're now in the North Branch. 2 announcements. First and foremost, from here on out, your attention will go on either end of the vessel. Please keep that in mind. Announcement number 2 is a disclaimer. I'm about to say the words luxury condos a lot. Buckle up. You guys don't even know. Up next, your left-hand side, the River Cottages, Harry Reese, 1988. You'll notice things like portholes, triangle shapes like sails. And even the spiral staircase looks like it was taken off a ship. Harry Reese loved sailing on Lake Michigan, so nautical elements are commonly found in it. Whiplash, right-hand side. 1979, Gordon and Levin, we have here the East Bank Club. It is a very large and a rather intimidating looking building. Keep in mind, back in 1979, this river was capital D disgusting. You did not want to look at it, live on it, or smell it. The building is designed to have its back to the river. So much so that the trees, ivy, walkway planters, even the windows on this facade were not elements of its original design. They were added on years later once we began to clean up the Chicago River. The East Bank Club, though, is a high-end fitness
So
facility.
nice.
Everything you guys could possibly need to stay physically fit. A rooftop pool, indoor running track, indoor tennis courts, volleyball courts, basketball courts, locker rooms, juice bars, and I believe motivation. It's not in me. Left-hand side. Kittensy Park, a gated community completed in the early 2000s by Papa George and Haynes, with a low-rise and a high-rise of luxury condos, and in your foreground, townhomes, 70 of them. Each of them being obsolete with the invention of computers. In the early 2000s, they turned the building to something we actually really needed. Luxury condos. Those are soft loft, they have open floor layout, 7-foot ceilings, exposed brickwork, and ductwork at the very top. To the city was a green space. So off on your right-hand side, we named a park after him. Just beyond Montgomery Ward Park are two white structures completed in the early 2000s by Lucian Lagrange. It is Kings Ferry on the park and Erie on the park. They are luxury condos. They are done in the international style of design, made famous in the nation. Oh my goodness, ooh. Don't know where I was going with that, I'm so sorry guys. I'm right on the facade. To the left of that back there, you'll see a blue glass building with white concrete corners. That is the Montgomery. The Montgomery back there opened up in 1971, designed by Minoru Yamasaki. It was Montgomery Ward's headquarters. That's where should have paid my taxes in 2015, but I didn't. The building was originally used as additional Montgomery Ward offices, but today it does stand as additional luxury condos. You guys see balconies like this hanging off the end of a building. It's usually a very good indication of adaptive reuse, the changing of the purpose of the building. Up next to the right, 1906 to 1908 by Schmidt, Garden, and Marchman, we have here the domain. The first half of this building has this long line of red bricks, an element from the prairie style of architecture made famous in the nation by Frank Lloyd Wright. The prairie style is a quintessential American design, rooted in the red bricks, emphasizing a long flat line of the horizon on the prairie. Now the domain here used to be Montgomery Ward's warehouse. It was in his, I'm not joking, 500-page catalog. It was in the 1.2 right-hand side. You'll see that the north bridge is split into two. In the center is the only island in the city of Chicago. That's made by our very first mayor, Willie. Lost a lot of their funding. A plot of land is now back in the market. The river district is kind of considered like a shelf project. Probably not going to happen. It was going to be quite the ordeal. Freedom Center, an ode to the freedom of press. Beneath this roof, they have 10 very large printing presses. So large, in fact, that they each need their own foundation. Together, those 10 printing presses print off up to 70,000 copies of newspaper each and every hour. That's insanely efficient. And today, as well as the Wall Street Journal Midwestern version, they all have rental rights to the end of this year. And they've extended that from January 2024 into the indigenous population, the Potawatomi, the Blackfoot, the Crow, the Miami, among many other tribes at one time called this area Chicago, which means the place that smells like onions, because that was their touch point for the region. They knew the land was largely marshland and was not useful for them. They became very familiar with the waterways, and all they smelled were those wild onions in the banks. Chicago was then rediscovered to the Western world for the French in 1673. Jacques Marquette and Louis Joliet came down from Canada to explore the Mississippi River. On the way down, they took their notes, logged their days, drew their maps, hit the Arkansas River, turned around and headed back up north. Near the Illinois River, they met friendly natives and said, follow up. There's a shortcut back to Canada. The French said, dope. They followed them up the Illinois River, connected it through several channels, eventually getting to Lake Michigan. They fell in love with the area, spread the word of the community, and they did. All 70 townhomes had down payments on them before that development even broke ground. They told them Hutchinson based on river. Big, high. On the right-hand side, we have Riverbank Loft, a great example of adaptive reuse, meaning they changed the purpose of this building. It used to be the Walden Business Forum printing facility to make we were pissed. We wanted to know where the fire began, and we wanted to know how, and we know where it began. 137 in Coventry. Mr. Leary went out at night to film a cow. The cow was spooked by something. It knocked over the lantern and the whole city went. He fully developed Chicago in about a year and a half. By 1889, our population was 1.2 million. We put in our bid for the World's Columbian Exposition to get poked back on the back. We sent the best politicians to Washington, D.C. to advocate for our city, and we won. New York was not supportive. They called us the windbags from the Windy City. They did nothing but blow hot air all over the place. Over their plot of land, using the largest steel I-beams that they could find. And they were, of course, Belgium. That's right. They then built Skyward. The building is now constantly balancing, so they implemented a massive damper system. There is 160,000 gallons of water in 4 tanks on top of the building. The wind pushes to the west, the water moves to the east, and vice versa. It remains completely stable. The same firm Gagin Partner just completed Bank of America Tower on your left-hand side. Again, noticing this cantilever portion to help accommodate for the river restriction. There's a train service servicing Chicago suburbs in all directions, but we do also have Amtrak trains, a train service doing its best to serve the U.S. as a nation. We all come into Union Station to meet these buildings and know what you guys are thinking. They're thinking, John, awesome building. On paper, it's a terrible idea, but we know that. Gateway 3 of the white structure is soundproof and stable. Does not hear the trains beneath them. Does not shake as trains pass beneath their feet. No right angles. On the side there, you'll see a dark window reflecting a vaulted hallway. The hallway then has a glass ceiling. Both elements go all the way through this building, flooding its interior with natural. Chicago fire first began. That was Miss O'Leary's property. Today, the antenna is no longer marking her property. Right now, it's marking the spot for the fire department training academy to ensure that we never again have to rebuild our city due to a cow, or more than likely, there on top. It was not smokeless. What they had here was left smoke. The building opened up with new refined ways for burning coal with reduced ash put up, and it didn't have to eliminate it. They simply jumped the gun. Today, technically is smokeless. It's also been abandoned. It's owned by Amtrak and on the rail yard that surround it. This means Amtrak can do whatever they want with the building, which may be the tallest residential tower in Chicago. Meaning, it is not necessarily the highest residence. Just means it is the tallest building in Chicago, both to and then back from the harbor. On your left-hand side in your foreground, welcome to Pingtown Memorial Park, folks. Welcome to Chinatown. We're going to go to my legal name, which is John. And also, though Amtrak being used by Amtrak and Metro, but every once in a while, we'll see an artifact to its old life as the Pennsylvania Railroad Bridge, when a freight train has occasionally been seen crossing over it as well. Point, following the Chicago Parade. Now, show of hands, how many of you guys out there have seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off? They like that. There's a scene in that film where his father looks out the window, sees that parade going by, interior space. Today, the building is largely being occupied as an agency. They brought you Snapcrack and Pop, Jolly Green Giant, and Tony the Tiger. The building was also designed with 4 additional floors. In the early 2000s, they were deemed structurally unsound. Completely removed, they were then never replaced. They simply recapped the building, which is why today, the top of Natter Tower does not match the color of the rest. Up next on your right, you'll see a dark gray building with the name James Hardy up on top. Ignore it, look behind it. You'll see the wave-like undulating white patios of Aqua. Aqua back there opened up in 2009, designed by Chicago architect Jeannie Gang. Aqua gave her the title for the most beautiful residential tower in the world in 2009, as well as the title for the tallest tower in the world, designed by a female architect. A title that Aqua today no longer holds. The wavy patios of Aqua are a water motif to look like gently rolling waves on Lake Michigan. It houses the Radisson Blue Hotel, floors for amenities, and of course, luxury condos. With one of those condos in Aqua at one time being home to Lady Gaga while she had an extended stay in the city of Chicago. Ooh. Ah. I thought that was a good name drop. Look at. Not the middle of the ground retail space, it's the space. leaving both the 83rd and the 84th floor open, creating what is called a blow-through. It assists the building with wind shielding. Wind now passes through those two floors as opposed to being forced onto either end. And the architect of this already iconic structure is Jeannie Gang, who with the St. Regis is now reclaiming her title for the tallest tower in the world designed by a female architect. But this time raising the bar to a 4-digit imperial number. St. Regis clocks in at 1,198 feet tall. It's about 363 meters. It is also the third tallest tower in our city. Its 101 floors are mixed use with retail space, parking garage, the namesake that is the ultra-luxurious St. Regis Hotel. They do have floors for amenities and, of course, own accord, end quote. The Chicago River was so packed with garbage that they saw a chicken get from one end of the river to the other end without thinking, because it was so densely packed with 10 chance that you were going to die. It was a problem. So what did we do? Well, we took our problem and we made it somebody else's problem. But how? Well, the Chicago River is on the east side of the Continental Divide. It flows east. The west end of that divide is the James River flowing west. We connected them. South of that for 27 miles will be more dirt than the Panama Canal. On the night of January, we opened those dams, opening up the sanitary and shipping canal. Thusly and effectively.